The New York Jets dropped to 4-8 on the year with a 13-8 loss to the Atlanta Falcons at MetLife Stadium. Eric Allen, Anthony Beck, Quincy Enunwa. The Jets changed quarterbacks again, AB, using their fourth quarterback of the year, and that is Trevor Siemian. Unfortunately for this team, as it's become a familiar refrain, not enough offense. You're not going to win in any league with 8 points.
Yeah, switching the quarterback, obviously, if you're Coach Salah, you're thinking, okay, you're frustrated. You want a spark. You want your offense to do something. There's no extension or leash on Tim Boyle, right? You can do whatever you want with him. You can pull him. You can leave him, whatever it is. You just want to see something. You don't owe any of these guys anything moving forward. So, I was always in the plan that Trevor Siemian would eventually just be the guy, just because of experience where he's at. It's not a knock on Tim Boyle. I just don't think, what he's done, body of work in his career, maybe he just got the chance because he was the 3. They brought him in. That's fine. Trevor came in late. But I think, Trevor comes in and does okay. I wasn't expecting much. Timing was off. Internal clock wasn't quite there. Just getting him out there. He made a couple nice, decent passes. But I think when you look at this game on both sides for both teams, everything was kind of equal, except 2 things, turnovers and penalties. And unfortunately, when everything's equal and you play similar styles, 2 good defenses, because I think the Falcons played extremely well defensively. I think we maybe undersold them a little bit defensively as a group. They're not collectively as star power as the Jets, but I really was impressed with what they did at each level, all those guys. But I think when you look at, you cannot make mistakes. At this point in the season, it's so crucial. We ask the quarterback, don't make mistakes, don't force balls, but you got to try to make some plays, and you get an interception. And the fumble clearly was the difference in the game. They scored the touchdown, and that was it. So unfortunately for Dalvin, you try to get him involved, try to get a spark, and then the ball pops out. It's raining, it's wet, you have to protect the football. If anything, okay, interceptions happen, but when you talk about running backs, we got 2 extremely talented running backs. The ball cannot hit the ground, and they scored a touchdown on that ensuing drive. It ultimately became the difference in the ball game. So again, offensively, it wasn't where it needs to be at all. That's another conversation we'll have later in the show on how that can get fixed and what they need to do. But you were in this game. If you did everything right, you were in the game with the potential to maybe get a field goal to take a lead, and you weren't in that position because of the turnovers and the penalties.
3 turnovers in all for the New York Jets. Robert Saleh's trying everything, fellas, because if you go back to Buffalo, he took Zach Wilson out of the game. He puts in Tim Boyle. Boyle starts the next 2 games, and today takes Boyle out of the game in the 4th quarter, just trying to give his team some kind of electricity.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at this point now, I think Coach Salah is lost for words. He doesn't know what to say, doesn't know what to do. Even in the post-game conference, you could tell he didn't know how to answer some of those questions. And it's got to be frustrating as a head coach, especially a guy that's a defensive head coach. Your defense is going out there and doing so many great things for your team, keeping you in games, holding the offense to 13 points, and your offense can't score 1 touchdown. 1 touchdown. And the disappointing thing for me is we went into this week, and I remember a lot of guys during the week saying, oh, Tim Boyle, he knows the offense, he's the master of the offense. Nathaniel Hackett was saying the same thing. And you go out there and he's missing guys wide open. Guys are running open all over the field, and he's just not seeing them. And I think that's very frustrating for players. It's frustrating for the fans. It's frustrating for the coaches, right? You got a guy that should know the offense and have confidence at least, right? I think with Zach, one of the things that we kind of looked at was like, okay, maybe he doesn't have confidence in the offense, so he can't have as much confidence in himself. But when you have confidence in the offense, it should allow you to make those throws on the field, take some chances, right? You don't know if you're going to be here next year. You don't have that security, right? So just go out there and play loose. And there were so many times where I just felt like he was afraid of the interception. And then he finally threw one kind of deep, and it was so off. And that was the interception of Jesse Bates. So just bad.
So Atlanta's top cornerback goes out early in this game. That's A.J. Terrell. Now you're thinking, hey, Garrett Wilson's going to have a big game. Right. He ends up having 3 receptions, 50 yards.
I think my mentality as a quarterback is I'm always going to lean on the high side of trying to get Garrett the ball, even when he's not open. Because if we watch the game, he makes the most contested catches of any receiver, whether he's open or not. I almost feel like the times they get him the ball, it's always like he's got to earn it every single time, and he does it. So, to me, it's always like, all right, you come to the sideline, and maybe you miss him. Somebody's in my ear saying, listen, man, look, it's tight, it's close. I know you. Just go that side. Let's just work it. Let's just stick with that read. Let's just see. Give him a chance to catch the ball. If he's wide open, you got the right read, you're good. If he's not, then, hey, he's going to at least knock it down because he's that kind of a guy, right? But also, to your point about the quarterbacks coming in, we're on our 4th quarterback.
That's right.
What is let me ask you this, fans, what is your expectation level for this offense? What can coaches expect when your third and fourth quarterback is in the game at this point in the season. Yeah. Nobody's down to that right now. Okay, nobody. Now the backups may be paying across the league, but you're never getting to the third and fourth receiver, and the quarterback, and the fourth quarterback just got here 50, 60 days ago. Yeah. So again, I think we got to minimize expectations. That's why everything else becomes so crucial. The situational stuff, the penalties, the little things, you cannot have them. It has to be amped up. And unfortunately, 11, 12 penalties, the turnovers, ball security, if those things just shore up, at least you give yourself a chance. Yeah. When those things go to the wayside with a third and fourth quarterback, it's almost impossible, guys. It really is. It's the NFL.
All right, a lot to get to. Let's get to the man who made the quarterback switch in the fourth quarter. That's head coach Robert Salah.
Your decision when you pulled Tim and put Trevor in, and where do you go next week?
Just trying to spark the offense. I'm not there yet with regards to next week.
Is Zach an option next week?
I'm not there yet.
Robert, just, I feel like we're asking the same questions every week, but how difficult is this just trying to find something to make this offense go?
We're searching. Felt like there was a lot of missed opportunity with potential explosives, possible touchdowns on the field today, and we've got to find a way to take advantage when we have those opportunities. So.
What are your thoughts on the officiating?
I'm done talking about those guys.
What did you think about the discipline of your team today?
I thought our guys fought hard. I respect the question. I understand the question with regards to penalties and all that, but our guys play hard. I'm not going to apologize for their style of play at the end of the first half. Borderline comical, but we've got to clean up the pre-snap stuff on offense with regards to the usage of cadence. It's obviously fooling us more than it is them, but it's stuff we got to get better at.
That's a clearly miffed head coach of Robert Salah. That's something you would expect. The Jets were 4-3 just a few weeks ago. Now they're 4-8. Couple things. Bottom line, trying to give the offense a spark, and we talked about it here in the opening segment. He thought there were a lot of plays to be made on the field, and you love this as a head coach. Everybody at home is going to look at all 22 and say, this guy was open, this guy was open. Right. I think the Jets clearly thought Garrett Wilson could have had a big first half.
Yeah, well, listen, I always pause when folks go get to watch the all 22 because they really don't understand. Right. A guy may be open, but what was the read? Where is he supposed to start? Yeah. That's fine. But if it's all equal and he has the option to hit a guy, okay, then that's a different story. We're only going to know that when you watch the film and, Coach says, listen, there were opportunities. That's why I always say lean on the high side of going towards Garrett's side, because at this point, it really doesn't matter what the read is in my eyes at some point in the game at certain situations. Just go to the guy that's your best player. That's what you got to do sometimes. You just take your chance. You get it to the guy that's your best player and give him a chance to catch the football. So you're always leaning on the high side, especially your third or fourth quarterback. At the end of the day, you don't want to try to get it right every time. You say, you know what? I'm not real sure. I'm just going to go his way, let him figure it out, and make a play if I can give him a catchable football. So, yeah, listen, did we see Garrett Wilson occasionally during this game be open or look like he was running past guys? Yes, but again, the read, all those things, protections, how the quarterback get there, but why not lean to that side in general? That'll be something for us who watch the film, who understand what you're saying from a protection standpoint, and figure out, if that was a cause for the quarterbacks not playing.
Yeah, it's a tough break too, because I like that the Jets got Xavier Gibson involved offensively today. Yeah. That was his best game of his career offensively.
Definitely, I'm really happy to see that, because you talk about a young guy, a rookie. It's tough to go out there and really ball out the way he did. I mean, he was making some plays in the rain. I talk about it all the time. In the rain, it's tough. You got to really focus. He made a nice catch off that flea flicker. He had a couple other good plays, and he even was catching the ball, the punts well. So it was good to see him. You have a young guy, a young piece that you can continue to perform with during the future. So I'm happy to know that this guy is performing. Brownlee was in. I mean, we didn't see Lazard. That was an interesting one. He kind of had a lot less reps than usual. But I think one guy who I really wanted to celebrate, until his fumble was Dalvin Cook. He was running really hard, right? And I was really happy to see that. There was a lot of plays where he was getting those tough yards. And, they talked about having Breece Hall doing that. We didn't really really get a chance to see him do that this game. But Dalvin Cook was getting a lot of tough yards, which set up some of those pass plays. And unfortunately, he had that fumble. And then I think from there, that was really, I think we would all say the turning point, right? Because then the next team ended up scoring a touchdown. And from there, it just didn't, the Jets couldn't catch up.
21 points today total at MetLife Stadium. The final was 13-8 for Atlanta. You look at the total yards discrepancy. The Jets, nearly 260 yards, which is not a gaudy number, but Atlanta, they had just 193, and we talked about the rush offense throughout the week. The Jets were up to the challenge. Where the Jets have to get better, especially offensively, is on third down. The green and white today, 2 of 15 overall. Let's bring in Ethan Greenberg from MetLife Stadium. Greens, Garrett Wilson finished with 3 catches for 50 yards receiving against Atlanta. It sure seemed like the Jets thought they left a lot of plays on the field, and specifically for their number 1 receiver.
Yeah, in the first half specifically, EA, it did feel like Garrett Wilson was springing free on a couple plays that did not go to Garrett Wilson, particularly one where he was streaking up the right sideline. The ball ended up going to Tyler Conklin, and it felt like just watching 17 go off the field. You could sense the frustration early on that maybe the ball wasn't going his way early. And then in the second half, obviously, he opened up with that big reception for the Jets that kind of sparked the offense a little bit. And then from there, he had that catch that he thought was a catch, and a lot of Jets fans were hoping were a catch. It ended up being out of bounds. That would have been a huge play for this Jets offense that needed to find the end zone in the 13-8 final score.
Greens, how about Dalvin Cook? I thought he had a lot of spark to his game early, but unfortunately puts the ball on the ground, and Atlanta cashes in with the game's only touchdown.
Yeah, to me, that was the turning point of the game because Atlanta had great field position. They capitalized right before the half. And with Dalvin Cook, you really could sense that he had some spring in his step. And I feel like we've been talking about him more and more over the past couple weeks. And I do feel like the Jets have 2 very good running backs in Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall. I was actually surprised maybe the Jets didn't want to ride the hot hand a little more with Dalvin Cook as opposed to Breece Hall. But obviously Hall is a fantastic player. It's hard to split carries between those guys because you know that Breece Hall could take it the distance anytime he touches the ball. But overall, I know the offense struggled. I did think Dalvin Cook was one of the players who had a good game for the Jets, all things considered.
Let's flip it to the defensive side of the ball, Greens. What did you think about that rush defense? Atlanta came to town after amassing 200 yards on the ground in their win over New Orleans, the NFL's 4th-ranked rush defense. What did you think about what the Jets did in the trenches and how all 11 got to the ball?
I thought they did a great job, and obviously I think what's most impressive is that the Falcons have many guys who can gash you, kind of like how the Jets like to rotate their defensive linemen to keep fresh. The Falcons do the same thing on offense with Bijan Robinson, the 8th overall pick out of Texas, who's dynamic, Cordero Patterson, who can essentially take it the distance anytime he touches the ball with a very unique body frame considering his height, and then Tyler Algier just can pound the rock, and he can really get north and south in a hurry. And I think the Jets did an extremely good job. And speaking to DJ Reed about the rush defense, he said that this was a focus for the Jets all week, and they wanted to put the ball in Desmond Ritter's hands, who only threw for 121 yards. And the priority for this group was to stop Bijan Robinson and company, and they did a great job in what was the 31st ranked rushing defense. I think the Jets defense made a statement in that case today.
Jets actually scored first today, and they got on the board with a huge defensive play, a safety. Atlanta countered, taking advantage of a takeaway in plus territory as Desmond Ridder got the Falcons on the board. And Greg Zuerlein finished up the scoring for the green and white with a pair of field goals. He's had the best 12-game start in franchise history, so the Z-Man has been on target. Let's get into our Telestration right now. We're powered by Microsoft Surface, as always. Eric Allen, Anthony Becht, Quincy Enunwa. Let's dive right into the safety because I love it when players at all levels get into the action. We saw Quinnen Williams being his dominant self, and how about Ashton Davis, man, making like a bulldozer.
Absolutely. And when you talk about the Falcons offense, I mentioned a little bit that they had some creativity. On this play here, there's a lot of show stuff, window dressing in front of this play, so you got to shift. Then you got the motion, too, just to kind of make it to where the Jets don't know what's coming. Obviously, he's going to run, right? You're at the 2-yard line. So you got the motion, a jet motion, and watch Quinnen Williams here, man. Just a beast, as well as Ashton Davis. Two guys that really performed on this play. Did a really good job of, first off, Quinnen, right? Great job getting back there. And then let's just rewind real quick so you can see Ashton Davis, grown man, right here. I want to make sure you see this guy. Grown man business right here. Knocked this guy back. He really is the guy that made the play right there. I mean, nobody else needed to be involved in that play, just Ashton Davis. And a young guy that started off a little slow, but to come in here and have that much confidence to say, I'm going to run through this guy and make the play in the backfield is great.
How about your comments on that, Coach Beck? Because I was surprised Arthur Smith's coming out against this rush defense and saying, you know what? I'm going to run a slow-developing rush play out of my end zone against Quinnen Williams.
Well, I'm just letting you know, as a tight end, okay, coming over there, seeing a strong safety on the edge, I'm licking my chops.
Yeah, right.
To let that guy run you over. That's one of those things Coach would sit in the meeting room, and he'd throw that on, and he'd say to the tight end, like, don't put that SH you-know-what on tape. Don't do that. You don't want to put that tape on. But Quinnen Williams was dominant today, I thought. That, he was unblockable. You'll see it again on the side. I love the fact you picked this play. But, I mean, just all three of those, the Clemens, they just blew up the line of scrimmage. I mean, it's unbelievable. And you're right. I think it was very risky for them to try to run this kind of a play this deep in their end zone, coming out on the outside, because their guys clearly couldn't handle our defenders.
They tried with the window dressing.
Entering this game, Ashton Davis, 2 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries in 100 defensive snaps. And I think this will go down as one of the plays a year in the National Football League. That was just an incredible effort. Okay, let's flip it to the offensive side of the ball. We talk about getting electricity, getting some juice. How about Nathaniel Hackett with the flea flicker?
Yeah, and you got 2 young guys on the right side. I like what he does here because it's a little bit of a twist here. So you're going to have Brownlee come here, you're going to have Gibson here, you're going to have this corner right over here. It's a flea flicker, but usually you're going to have this guy go here and this guy go out here. So I love the little bit of creativity because not only do you have the action in the backfield, right, but you also have to make sure you have your guys. So my guy's going here, my other guy's going here. I got to pay attention to all that. So you're going to see Gibson with the speed, right, running past his guy. Boyle gives him a chance to go up, and you don't usually expect that from a guy like him, right, to go up and go get the ball against a taller corner, but he does a great job in the rain. That's a great play by that young guy right there.
What do you think about the play call from Hackett there?
Yeah, it's perfect. I mean, you know, obviously, anytime you hand it to a back, flicking it back, you're going to get suction because of the fact that Breece Hall's such a back that demands defenders to come at him.
Yeah.
And, you know, you got some big offensive tackles and guards in front of him. It's hard to see, so you get mixed in. Now, that corner on the outside, he kind of caught it, but the thing about Gibson, he's got so much speed. If he's even, he's leaving, right? So that's where they was in this. And Boyle does a decent job. It's a heck of a catch now. That's not easy.
Yeah.
Had to track the ball, turn his body. He is not the tallest receiver. Went up and got the football and really kind of helped him throughout the game really be confident because he made some nice catches throughout the day.
Yeah.
Let's go back to MetLife Stadium right now. Here's Caroline Hendershot and Jets special teams captain Justin Hardy.
With Captain Justin Hardy. Justin, what was Coach's message after today's loss?
Keep fighting. Definitely got to, look ourselves in the mirror, find a way. Like there's going to be no excuse, and there's like no blueprint to it. It's just really coming down and playing football and, X's and O's and all that, but it really comes down to executing and making plays. And another big thing is beating ourselves with penalties and stuff.
What did you think? Obviously, this was your first game back after a while. What did you feel out there?
I felt good energy, man. Felt good energy. Only can control but so much, but I feel good energy from the team, all day. I feel like we didn't give up, but, it wasn't enough. So, not winning won't ever be enough, and we got to pick it up more.
What's the next step for this team as you guys gear up for next week?
Just taking one game at a time, focus on what we can only focus on, control what we can control. All we need to worry about is Houston right now. I believe we got Houston next, and, you can't worry about the past right now. So you just got to learn from this, dissect, learn from your mistakes, and just keep going.
Awesome. Thanks for your time, Justin.
Thank you.
Great to see Justin Hardy back in the lineup, and that was a huge play. That was exactly what you want to see from the Jets, complementary football. Morstead with the nice boot. The coverage teams are right down there, pinning the Atlanta Falcons down at the 1-yard line. Next play, safety. You got some momentum. Jets finally get some first quarter juice, unable to sustain that momentum, though. So let's get into our grades. Jets dropped to 4-8 on the year with 13-8 loss to Atlanta. Let's start with the offense. We've been talking about the offense a lot today. Quincy, actually, with
I didn't want to start the trend on the Fs. I apologize.
The toughest grade.
That's probably my fault. You know, the fact that they actually led offenses on both sides from a number standpoint. I didn't give them an F because there were some positive things that I saw. There are some nice things in the passing game. Unfortunately, the stick was short with Tim Boyle. It may have come not just because of the interception. It may have been some other things that he didn't hit throughout the game that there was a little frustration with the coaching staff that pulled him away. But like we talked about, turnovers, no go, can't have it. The fumble was crucial, and then the penalties, obviously, all those little offensive things. He talked about cadence issues and all that stuff. You just can't have it. This team cannot overcome those things. Even in a perfect world, just to get in that scenario, they still may be down in this game, but they're having a chance to win or tie it with a field goal. So that's where I went with the D. It's a slightly notch above an F just from past games, but at least I saw something today that I can say, okay, we got flea flicker, a couple plays, guys making throws here, making catches. This kind of is what it is.
All right, so here's my thing. Here's why I gave him an F, right? So I think I gave him an F maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I felt like I was tough, so last week I gave him a D. So I gave him an F this time because you're going on your 4th quarterback. You have 3 turnovers. To me, it's unacceptable. Your first score was through special teams. Special teams helped them get in position, and then defense scored your first points of the game. If after the game your head coach isn't able to kind of give an explanation on why the offense isn't doing well, then you don't have an answer. And so my answer is F. And it's not even to degrade the guys. I hope that it's something to influence you to say, I don't ever want to see an F on that grade again because you think you're better than that. Because right now, this offense is not performing. You got guys all across the board not performing well, from the running backs, the receivers, the quarterbacks, the offensive line. So it's just not good enough. And I think, it starts at the top. Offensive coordinator also has to help these guys as well. So, I'm just putting everybody in that. They have to perform better.
Real quickly, Gibson had a career game, so I'm taking that into account.
Of course.
I thought Garrett, the numbers don't show it, but he was winning a lot.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to give him a lot of pluses. 3rd down's not good enough. We know about it. Interesting stat here. Boyle was sacked 1 time. Siemian, although this was a 1-possession game in the 4th quarter, he was sacked 3 times. Again, you're starting a different offensive line combination. And the Jets have been unable to get Breece Hall going in the run game. We like the spark that we saw from Dalvin Cook. Unfortunately, we saw the turnover, and that proved to be huge in this game. Okay, how about defensively? Q, you're going to lead the way here.
So I want to be. I want to be on defense. I think they did really well today, considering everything. I just felt like there was a couple undisciplined plays there. So to me, I felt like I didn't want to give them. I used to say that B is where I start, so B is exactly where I wanted to put it at. They weren't the best in the world, but they played really well, so I kept it at B.
When you hold a team under 200 yards in the NFL, that offense, whoever that is, I'm giving them an F, right? So to me, that's a really exceptional performance. It's a B+, just because it could have been an A or even close to, higher than the B+, but I need a turnover.
Yeah.
They got to get the turn. They did score with the safety, I get it. We had to get a turnover. Reed had one, okay? It got called, conduct, up for discussion on that play as well. I think it's a no call, but just a heck of a job by him, but it didn't count. There wasn't a turnover strip. They were able to punch a ball out of our running backs, one of our top guys. They were able to intercept the football. We got to find a way to do the same thing. That's a lot of pressure. You're asking a lot on your defense, but this is where we are. So that our offense, it can shorten the field down. It could give them a spark that way. But, we'll get to the offense totality. But as far as the defense, they could have had an A today. Just, man, they got to find a way to take the ball away.
All right, bottom line, net 11 points they were responsible for. And were they really responsible for 11 points? I mean, I'm saying Atlanta finishes with 13. You get the safety, and then the turnover happens in plus territory for Atlanta, and they cash in with the touchdown. So, again, and this is a vaunted rushing attack that had 220 yards last week against the Saints. They finished today, fellas, with 34 carries, 90 yards, 2.6 yards a pop. And the call on DJ Reed, for my money, I know I shouldn't be questioning officials here, but that's really ticky-tacky. And even the one in the end zone, I thought the guy, in real time, I could see the call, but I thought he was just going up trying to make the play on the ball. Jets are not getting a lot of favors from officials here. I know you got to play through it.
Throughout the year, for most teams, I feel like the officials can do better. That's what I'll say.
Okay, how about special teams?
Yeah, I gave them a B. I mean, I thought they did what they had to do. Major kicks. They're getting a lot of opportunities, right? They're getting a lot of punts, a lot of, opportunities for players to get out there and kind of show what they're doing. I just like, can we get a spark?
Yeah.
Is there a fake? You know, again, if you can't get the offense cooking, where else, man? We saw Morstead throw a pass. Was it last game? Like, maybe they can find a way to, like, do something different every week. I mean, you know, put these defenses or special teams when we have the ball, like, you know, put them at a threatening area. I mean, I wouldn't be terrible if they didn't get a fake, but you're trying to do something. So again, just, you know, a return, a big splash play, you need it. But again, they did their job. So not getting the splash play, which is asking a lot. I gave them a B, but they probably gave an A performance today.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. There's some bias involved in my grading, right? So as a former special teams guy, I always love to watch what they do there. I probably, if I'm looking at the game all over again, the defense probably could have had an A. But special teams, man, I'm happy to see Justin Hardy out there making plays, drawing penalties, getting down the field, you know, a guy that is a spark for this team. Morstead continuing to just be a unit, you know, a guy that's going to help your team and put them in position. You know, then you're kicking field goals. Greg the Leg is making a field goal in the range. So I think just all around those guys just competed well today. So I gave them an A.
I went B. That was probably a tough grade. Morstead, 7 punts, 48.4 average, 3 punts down inside the 20. Gibson gave you some flash there on punt returns. He averaged 11.3 yards on punt returns, and the Jets are going to need that here over these final 5 games. Tim Boyle today for the Jets finished 14 of 25, 148 with the 1 interception. Trevor Siemian finishes for the Jets 5 of 13 in that fourth quarter. After the game, the voice of the Jets, Bob Wischusen, talked to Siemian.
Trevor, how hard is it to come off the bench in a situation like that?
Yeah, I think that's part of your job as a backup quarterback. So you're taking each rep mentally during the week, and you're ready to go whenever, because you know there's no asterisks for how you go. And unfortunately, I didn't make enough plays and didn't play well enough to win.
How about the comfort level, even with the system? I mean, being new to all of this, being brought in during the season.
Yeah, as comfortable as I needed to be to play. You know, I think I felt fine. Certainly, some plays I wish I could do over again, but. It's what it is, and yeah, comfort level was fine. Yeah.
Okay. Moving forward, I don't know if you have been told yet what's going to happen and if you maybe are going to be the starter, but if you are, you've been in this league a while. What are you telling to some of the young guys, especially on this roster, to try to keep their heads up, knowing that, you know, there's still a lot of football left this season to be played?
Yeah, like you said, I don't think I've never had a problem with motivation or being around guys. This is a big boy grown-up league, so we're going to play next Sunday, whether guys are, you know, moping around or whatever, and that's definitely not the case. I think the one thing you can say is guys are made the right way in this locker room. There's plenty of grit, and we're going to find a way to get better this week and give it a go Sunday.
And final question, the way to get better. You've been in the film room, you've been at practice, you've watched this from the sidelines, now you're out there with this group. What has to happen for this offense to kind of flip the switch and get going again and feeling like it can find the end zone?
Yeah, I think there's a number of things, but you got to farm your land. You got to do your job the best of your ability. So, you know, I think each guy, you know, and sometimes like this where you lose a few in a row, you want to press, right? But that certainly isn't the answer. So fighting that tendency, going to work, and like I said, farming your land, and we'll play Sunday. We'll be ready to play Sunday, and we'll see what happens.
Thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Another tough one for the Jets on this Sunday, the final for MetLife Stadium. Atlanta 13, the green and white 8. So that's 5 consecutive losses. The Jets 4-8 overall, 5 games remaining. We're setting the table up for Coach Beck.
Yeah, you know, listen, this is how I start. Obviously, I'm telling my defense, number one, keep plugging. Look, we have an identity for the defense. We know they're going to go out there and get the job done. That's the way they're going to play for the entire season. That's huge. Now, when you look at the offensive side, if I'm looking at it, Trevor Siemian's your starter. And being that he's your starter moving forward, a guy that's experienced and been there and done that, he can now collaborate, okay, with Nathaniel Hackett. I think immediately these two put together what they feel like is going to work and be good for him in the passing game, so that they're on the same page throughout the whole week, whether it's, you know, the build-up early in the week as far as just watching early tape, looking at some of the things that Trevor has done successful in his career throughout where he's been. They have some experience together. Trevor's been here before. So those things are key. From a run game perspective, ultimately this is what this team's going to have to do. They got to find a way to make it better. They got the backs. Now, they got a shifting line. What does that mean? Well, it's never going to be the same look. For the back, it's a little tougher. How do you simplify up the run game? How do you find out what works best? They really got to dig and find a couple runs that they feel like, okay, is it double teams everywhere, duo runs, and we're going to blow them off the ball? Is it power, gap schemes, whatever it's going to be? Inside runs, whatever it's going to be. Do we tighten, do we open this thing up and give Trevor Siemian a potential RPO or handoff look because of the numbers in the box? That's how I think, but you have to find a way to generate a run game. What they did today was not good enough at 2.5 yards a carry, but they also were 10 carries less than the Falcons in the same similar game set where they were trying to establish a run and they stuck with it and they weren't taking those chances, right? So that's where you have to find a way to do it. Offensive line coach, coordinator, got to find a way to get it right with the guys they have. There's always something. You got to fish for it, you got to find it, and you got to practice it all week. You got to do it early in the week. You can't work on it as you go. Figure out what you want, and then pound those plays in the inside run periods, whatever it may be, so that when you get to Thursday and Friday, you feel good about it. And again, asking the quarterback, Nathaniel Hackett and him, putting their heads together throughout the entire week.
Bottom line, cruel twist of fate for Jets fans. Aaron Rodgers goes down on the 4th offensive snap in Week 1 versus Buffalo. Here in the Jets' 12th game this season, they used their 4th quarterback. They might be starting a 4th quarterback next week when the Houston Texans come to town, Q.
Yeah, it's not pretty right now, right? It's obviously not pretty. You want to take it week by week. Obviously, as a player, that's a mentality you have to have. As a organization, as a fan base, it's tough to watch these games knowing that what you looked forward to when you started the season is not what you get to see now. The guys just have to figure out a way to rally around because it feels like they're reaching a tipping point, right? Because defensively, you're continuing to put the right product out there, and offensively, they're just not figuring it out. At some point, you got to figure out what's going to make this offense work, what's going to make it shake. AB made a lot of great points. I think that's for the coaches to sit down and really figure that out.
Yep. And we will be here to watch whether the Jets figure it out. Next week, of course, Pregame Central will originate from MetLife Stadium. That's the Jets and the Texans. And like always, we will be back right here at One Jets Drive for Jets Overtime. Have a great night.